I'm Riley here at GP Melbourne, joined by Sneak and Show team member and very good personal friend of mine, Patrick Robertson. Well, sorry, I don't mean to tarnish you with that brush so early on.
It's a dubious honour.
Exactly right. Paddy, thanks so much for coming along and having a chat today.
Pleasure,
so,
man.
we are playing blue-white lowercase b.
Yeah, lowercase b. I'm insistent on these decks we all be called blue-white X, where X is equal to 1 sometimes, and, Bs or, R's or G's. We've had a G through today.
We have had a G through
That's
today.
good, yeah.
Exactly
So anyway, yeah, I'm blue-white black.
Blue-white with a little bit of a splash. This isn't perhaps a full-blown Esper list, but we've still got access to black cards. Yeah. So a very traditional approach to some of the cards. We've got Sphinx's Revelation, Detention Sphere, Supreme Verdict, and where are Jace Architect of Thought over here. These cards obviously the backbone of the deck. You're choosing to run 2 Doomblades in the main.
Yeah. So after Alexander Hayne won Grand Prix with Calgary. He won Grand Prix Calgary, and he was playing a lot of Last Breaths in his deck. And then Born of the Gods comes out, and Red Green Monsters kind of takes over the format. And Last Breath's not so good against them. And so the thinking was to make a switch from situational removal spells to slightly more powerful removal spells like Doomblade. Up until this morning, actually, it was an ultimate price in the main, and I had all 4 Doomblades in the sideboard. But Dan Unwin convinced me that most of the time, Doomblade's actually just better, and we drew up a list of creatures in the format that each kills, and I was really stretching it when I started going to mono black aggro creatures as a reason to play Ultimate Price in the main. So I switched to Doomblades at the last minute, and I never played against red green monsters, but
but obviously still with the record of X2.
Yeah, 7-2 today.
X2,
yeah.
So pretty good record nonetheless. So the Doomblade's obviously doing some work.
Yeah,
the other thing the black opens up in the main, of course, is Thoughtseize.
Yeah.
How's this card going for you today?
Spectacular. Information is my favorite thing in Magic. Every time I can see what's going on and know what's up, it's just the options, just like the game plan just falls into place and you know what's going on,
Absolutely right. And there are a lot of top tier players who are able to craft a game plan around having access to that information.
Yeah, exactly. Like I Thoughtseize my opponent today, and I saw that he had 3 creatures that died to my Elspeth -3, and I Thoughtseize away his counterspell, baited him into playing some guys out, and I got to minus it. If I didn't know what was going on, maybe I play differently, maybe I lose.
Absolutely. So obviously in these matchups where every tiny bit of marginal advantage is going to be really critical. Having access to information, and I mean, being able to rip a card out of the hand isn't bad either. I mean, that part of the card is pretty good as well.
Pulling out the foundation out from underneath what the line of play was is also obviously really critical. And I just really like knowing what's up. I played like blue-white with no Thoughtseizes at a PDQ a couple of weeks ago, and I really just felt in the dark and confused.
Sure. I guess, this is the light at the end of the tunnel for you.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
All right. Look, it brings a tear to my eye to see that you're only playing 2 Azorius Charm. It's a great shame. Look at them relegated all the way over there.
I know, right.
It's terrible. But can you talk to me about this card? Like I know I have you on record as saying it is the best card ever printed. I think is what you said. And I'm going to hold you to that. Why only 2?
It's obviously lost a lot of utility without Snapcaster Mage in the format. It doesn't quite kill anything in particular, but I really think it's like it's an excellent game 1 card. It does everything marginally well, cycles when you need to, removes a blocker when you need to, and gains life in a pinch. And it's exactly what I want in game 1. It's a flexible tool. And I don't want to go all in on having 4 Doomblades and play against mono black. I don't want to go all in on Last Breaths and play against red green monsters. I want Azorius Charm. It's flexible. It puts Mutabolts on top of people's libraries. It puts Desecration Demons on top of people's libraries, and it saves you from everything but Stormbreath Dragon most of the time.
Sure, excellent. I mean, obviously, my love affair with the card is well published,
exactly.
And we don't need to go on too much further. But it's a sad state of affairs that Azorius Charm isn't at the peak that it used to be.
I guess so. I mean, Magic's Magic, though. Like, you can't get too sad about these sort of things.
Oh, mate, you can. I know you can.
Right, I've seen you.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so let's have a look at the mana base here. We've still got 2 Mutabolts despite the splash. You're splashing the black off 9 sources here. It's 8 temples.
8 temples and 1 Godless Shrine, I believe.
Yeah, the Godless Shrine just
hiding
hiding out here.
Hiding there.
Tell me about the Godless Shrine and the black splash in general.
The black splash in general is reasonably comfortable. I chose to play 1 more white source than blue source for some reason. I don't think it's right in hindsight. I think I should have played a Watery Grave instead of a Godless Shrine.
Sure.
Had a little bit of trouble getting double blue every now and then, but it's felt really solid. I mean, we're not going over the top and trying to play Hero's Downfall or any double black spells. You don't need to cast your Doomblade on turn 2 very often. You don't need to cast Thoughtseize on turn 2 very often. It's nice to have, you can slowly gain access to these cards. Having black mana untap on turn 5 isn't that big of a deal if you're going to like Thoughtseize them and then Verdict them, taking away the next step after Wrath of God.
So am I right in saying that a Thoughtseize is generally best put to use maybe the turn before they're planning to cast a card?
Yeah, I think you sit and wait on it. If you need to play it early, that's fine. You can see what's up and sculpt your plan accordingly. But once you're in the middle of the game, it's best to save it until you're looking to make action. I mean, I hold it in the mirror for a long time until I really want to start seeing if I can start resolving Sphinx's Revelations or putting Elspeth into play, and just clearing the way of a counterspell, baiting out a counterspell, and just seeing what's up.
And that's what we've seen here at this GP. We've seen players that are really intent on finding that key moment in the game where they're going to be able to switch gears and get into a position to start like resolving the Elspeths, resolving the Aetherlinks, and turn the game around, assume a more, I guess, aggressive position, and actually start closing out a game.
Sure, I mean, it's hard to call it aggressive per se, but when you thought sees them see that their hand is weak and then just, turn on, put your foot on the gas.
That's exactly what I mean by that.
Put your foot on the gas and just the game suddenly becomes, swinging heavily in your favor and it's over before they know it. Yeah.
So we've got, moving back to the sideboard, we've got an enormously diversified approach here. 1 negate, 2 ultimate price, 1 revoke existence, 1 fated retribution, 2 gainsay, a really diverse, you've got access to a range of really diverse cards here.
Sure, so I mean there's actually just a bunch of packages here. There's like the Doomblade package, essentially, which is the ultimate price and Doomblade complement. There's the Counterspell package, which is the negates and gainsays. There's the complement Thought Seizers for the main deck. And then there's this creature package over here, which I bring in sometimes all in the same matchup, and oftentimes just bring the Barons or just the Angel.
Sure. Okay, so all of these cards serving different roles.
Yeah.
It's the Blood Baron of Viscopa. I mean, it says on the card what you bring it in against. You bring it against white decks, black decks. What's Archangel of Thune doing for you?
Archangel of Thune is much better against non-white and non-black decks that you want a life-gaining threat against. I mean, it sounds fairly redundant for me to say that, but you can't really have Blood Baron against red-green because it doesn't do anything. You can't have Blood Baron against mono-blue because, again, it doesn't do anything. It just trades with Frostburn weird. It's pretty disastrous. So having something that can attack Planeswalkers, gum up the board, gain you some life against those decks is really important. So I just kind of hedged. Instead of the 4th Blood Baron, I just have the Archangel of Thune.
Sure.
And it hasn't been so bad.
It's been doing some work today?
Yeah, I mean, I bring it in against White Weenie and all that sort of stuff as well. It's just often it just acts like the 4th life gain creature.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that makes good sense. So look, almost a toolbox approach with the sideboard, able to adapt as you need to do it, and I know that's how you like to play.
Yeah, it is exactly how I like to play. I like to keep my answers powerful, flexible, and just so you I never sideboard the same way every round. Basically, I like to mix it up and see what my opponent's showing me, see how they're playing, and sometimes one thing's better than another, and the flexibility in the sideboard helps me with that.
So giving yourself options. That's exactly right. All right.
Exactly.
Well, look, after an X2 start to day 1, in good shape for day 2. We're going to see how we go. Absolutely, yeah. It's been a great day here at GP Melbourne. It's been fantastic to have the coverage, obviously, and see all of the best and brightest players in Australia come and do battle. So thanks so much for coming along, and we'll see you tomorrow at day 2.
Pleasure. All right.
Until then, this is Patrick Robertson with Riley Knight here at GP Melbourne. G'day everyone, welcome back to the booth. Ray, we don't have much magic left at GP Melbourne.
One match.
One match left. It is the match that counts. It's the match that everyone is here for. It is the final. The final of GP Melbourne is about to be unleashed upon the world here, live, streaming all across the world. Ray Walkinshaw here in the booth with Riley Knight. It's a great pleasure to have your company here for the final of GP Melbourne. Who have we got up for our final match, Ray?
On one side of the table, Paddy Robertson, local player, playing Esper Control.
Absolutely. Local hero, well known throughout the Magic community, a personal friend of mine. And then we've got on the other side of the battlefield.
Coming in from South Korea, we've got Sung-Wook Nam. He's been a member of the Korean national team 2008 and 2013. So he's a man of some results.
Absolutely right. A magic player worth his salt.
Absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
This is not a Mickey Mouse game. This is a game where these two Magic players are going to come in and they're going to battle hard.
They are. They're going to be clawing each other's faces, trying to figure out who can get to the trophy. Not literally.
No, of course, in a very gentlemanly, figurative way, of course, Ray. But nonetheless, an enormously high stakes game. Both of these players are safe for the Pro Tour, but a GP championship on the line here for Robertson and Nam. Yep. What are your thoughts?
Paddy Robertson, as I said, he's playing Esper. Sung-Wook Nam's playing mono black control. Well, not correct control, could be aggro, mid-range. We've seen this matchup a few times. It can go either way. It does depend what kind of draw that Nam gets. Can he disrupt Paddy Robertson before he takes control, or can Paddy Robertson take it to the long game?
That's it. I mean, I know Sung-Wook Nam's going to be leaning really hard on cards like Hero's Downfall to take out the opposing Planeswalkers.
Yep.
He's going to be leaning on Underworld Connections to keep up with the cards that Paddy's going to be drawing. You know that. On Paddy's side of the table, those Sphinx's Revelations are going to be key. He's not worried about counterspells anymore. He just wants to fill up his hand, keep deploying his answers, and then eventually Windmill Slam a threat onto the table that's going to take over the
That's
game.
right. Thoughtseize from Nam makes counterspells really difficult to rely on. So as you say, Paddy Robinson's going to go 1-for-1, card for card, until he can top up with those Sphinx's Revelations. And that's traditionally what's going to take it home for him if he can keep this trophy on home soil.
That's right. A really clear game plan for both of these players. We're not going to waste any more time, guys. We are not going to detain you from this mighty battle any longer than necessary. We're going to send you down to some of the Asia Pacific's most powerful wizards. Paddy Robertson facing off against Sung-Wook Nam in the finals of GP Melbourne, and we're taking you there right now. Gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, and welcome to the final of GP Melbourne. I'm Riley Knight, and joining me in the booth is Ray Walkinshaw, and we are ready to get stuck in to an absolutely huge match here at GP Melbourne, the final between two behemoths of Magic here in the Asia Pacific region.
First time on camera too. This has been an exciting weekend, us bringing this video coverage for the first time to you, and we're glad that you're here watching with us.
That's exactly right. We're really pleased to have your company here for the first live stream of an Australian GP. And as we see these two players opening up with some lands there, it looks like a Mutavault got in for 2 there against Paddy Robertson in turn number 2, as we see a turn 3 Thoughtseize from Sung-Wook Nam. Paddy Robertson lays his cards on the table. That's a pretty good grip. A Sphinx's Revelation, a Jace, another Sphinx's Revelation, a D-Sphere, and a Plains joining those cards there.
A couple of Supreme Verdicts as well.
That's right. Supreme Verdict's going to be a nice stopgap there for Paddy Robertson. The local hero here, of course, Paddy Robertson, living about 20 minutes from the venue in beautiful Northcote with a range of very handsome and talented people, I understand. In any case, here we go. So Sung-Wook Nam having a look at Paddy's hand, writing down the contents of it, and choosing what he's going to take. What do you like here, Ray?
He can only take one of these cards. Those Supreme Verdicts are pretty strong. They clear out the creatures that Sung-Wook Nam is going to be trying to attack with. There's 2 of them, because when they go 1-for-1, those Sphinx's Revelations fill out the hand.
Yeah.
Jace is a legitimate threat for Paddy as it is. Instead, he's gone for the Detention Sphere. I wonder if Sung-Wook Nam is going to be following up with a pack rat at some point.
We're going to see, an attack from the Mutavault just here. So no pack rat on turn 3 from Sung-Wook Nam. The Paddy Robertson's hand there, really, really resilient to Thoughtseize, with 2 copies of Supreme Verdict and two copies of Sphinx's Revelation.
The only dangerous part about Paddy Robinson's hand, there was only 1 further land. He's played that land now, and he doesn't have any more.
That's right. So he's hoping to rip like a fiend here and make sure that he can keep up with the land drops. And we're going to see if he's able to do that now. On turn, there it is. We've got another card, another land, and I'm not surprised to see him happy to go 1-for-1 there with the Night Veil Spectre, not wanting to take any risks with the 2-3.
It looks like Sung-Wook Nam was protecting that Night Veil Spectre from the Detention Sphere, but of course could not stop that Supreme Verdict from taking it down.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen an increased tendency towards streamlined decks with lots of 4-ofs here in this standard, thanks to Thoughtseize, and I bet Paddy was happy to open a hand that was very resilient with that redundancy. Ray, it's really important that people do have opening hands that don't just roll over to Thoughtseize. So Paddy, in that instance, pretty happy to be Thoughtseized on turn 1 and reveal that hand.
Yeah, that was a good hand to be sitting on with Thoughtseize. Sometimes your opponent plays a Thoughtseize and you know exactly what they're going to take. At this point, Paddy was like, great, take one of these. I still got 4 or 5 left that are just as good.
That's right. So Paddy Robertson looking here at his hand. I'm not sure if he's got another land. He's got a Jace in his hand that he can't cast due to a lack of double blue. Or can he? There we go,
like
shocking himself with the Hallowed Fountain. And I think we're going to see a Jace at the table here. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this so far?
Yeah, I like this play. I mean, the only thing that Sung-Wook Nam's got to threaten it is a Mutavault. Yeah, it looks like Paddy's just using it to get extra cards.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't be surprised here if we see him take the 2. That is a pretty juicy pile there, regardless of the width of the split. I think he's going to snag himself 2 cards. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's an interesting split because apart from the fact that Paddy's Jace can now be killed by that Mutavault, there we go. It was Dissolve in one pile, Doomblade in the land in the other.
That's
Paddy
right.
has taken the Doomblade in the land. Doomblade not usually very good against a mono black deck, except for those Mutavaults.
The Mutavault's exactly right. Able to kill the Mutavault, absolutely blank against all of the other creatures, of course. But Paddy Robertson, happy enough to scoop up 2 cards. I think he really did. I think he was going to take whichever one had the land in it.
I think so too, because you're not sad to have that Mutavault dying to a Doomblade.
No, of course not.
You're happy to take that.
So there we go. Mutavault doing what it does best and pressuring opposing planeswalkers, putting Jace Architect of Thought in the bin. So Paddy able to get some value off it and draw an extra card, as we see a Night Veil Spectre hitting the battlefield on Sung-Wook Nam's side of things. Night Veil Spectre, a pretty useful card to have in the Esper matchup. Obviously, you do accrue enough cards off them that it can really start hitting hard.
It certainly gives you enough time to deploy the cards you steal with the Spectre. It does look like Sung-Wook Nam is deploying his cards as quickly as he would like, but Paddy Robertson being on 12 still has another Supreme Verdict in hand. He doesn't look like he's threatened too badly right now, if not for the fact he needs to find more land.
He does, and don't forget about those 2 Sphinx's Revelations. Paddy Robertson drawing out of his lands pretty well. I think he's drawn almost a land a turn here, because we see a Hallowed Fountain in his hand, joining a Doomblade, 2 Sphinx's Revelations. There's another shock. So Paddy happy to take himself down to 10. I have spoken about Robertson's approach to his life total as a resource. He is not afraid to use it as a resource, and I've seen him win many games on 1 or 2 life.
Yep. So he's passed the turn back with 6 mana open. I've got to assume he's going to be Sphinx's Revelationing here.
You would imagine so. I think that that Night Veil Spectre is going to get in. He's going to have a look at the top card of his library, or that's going to get exiled rather to the thing, and that is an Elspeth Sun's Champion. Of course, it's going to take 2 white sources off the top of his deck for Sung-Wook Nam to be able to play that, but just extracting it from the top of his deck, I mean, you're not unhappy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Sung-Wook Nam's going to get to cast at Elspeth. It'll be interesting if he does, but importantly, it's denied it from Paddy.
And a Thoughtseize now coming down from Sung-Wook Nam. Maybe a Sphinx's Revelation in response, Ray?
Well, he's got 2, right? So he's always going to be able to cast a Sphinx's Revelation unless there's another Thoughtseize behind this one. But see, yeah, he's not done it because he can cast the second one. But one of those things is if you cast the Sphinx's Revelation before the Thoughtseize, it means he gets the pick of all of the cards, including the new ones.
That's right, and seeing as the Aetheling's already in his hand, it doesn't look like he's going to really be able to protect it from a Thoughtseize in any case. He doesn't have access to counter magic right now.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that Aetheling hitting the bin. What do you reckon?
The Aetheling, yeah, it's a pretty serious threat out of Paddy's deck if he can protect it. Right now, he can't protect it, so it's not like he's going to be playing it anytime soon. That said, if he can get it down and protect it, it doesn't look good for Sung-Wook Nam. Yep, and he's taken it with the Thoughtseize.
So there you go, not taking any risks. Happy to get the Shapeshifter out of play and into the graveyard as we see another Swamp played by Sung-Wook Nam as we move over to Paddy now. And having a look at what he's going to do, it looks like he's Sphinxing for 3.
Yep, I think Sung-Wook Nam is fully aware that there's a lot of good cards in Paddy's hand, and while leaving the Aetheling there might be a good idea, Paddy's got so many answers that he knows the game's going along, and if he lets that Aetheling stay, he's going to lose to it.
That seems to be a reasonable line. I agree with your assessment there. We've got a Syncopate in Paddy's hand as well, in addition to a few other cards of Doomblade, obviously, that we saw off the Thoughtseize, and a Sphinx's Revelation. I'm not entirely sure what else he drew off that Sphinx's Revelation before, the one for 3 that we just saw.
No. It's interesting that Doomblade is there basically blanking the Mutavault. Whether that ever actually comes up again, it's interesting to know. I mean, Sung-Wook Nam doesn't actually need to activate that at any point until such time as Paddy's shields are down.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of this game, a lot of the Esper mirror, a lot of games around blue-white control, a lot of them do occur with the hands, without even cards that are on the battlefield. That Mutavault is being held by a card that doesn't exist anywhere other than in Paddy's hand. Yep. And so much of it is remembering that. You've got to remember the Doomblade's there. People will forget. And we do see a Night Veil Spectre ripping a Temple of Enlightenment off the top of Paddy's deck. So one step closer to casting that Elspeth.
This could be fun.
This could be very interesting, but of course, Paddy having an onboard answer to the Sphinx's, or to the Night Veil Spectre with a Supreme Verdict in hand.
That's right. So he's filling up with the second Sphinx's Revelation, and I'd be surprised if he lets that Night Veil Spectre live any longer.
I agree with that. Having said that, he does have counter magic in his hand. I mean, if he's really concerned about it, he can just hold a counter back and make Sung-Wook Nam waste a turn casting it.
True.
As we see Paddy, he's got a grip full of cards, a few lands in there I saw, as we casting now a 2-cost spell with double white, so that is a Last Breath. So unsurprising, exiling the Night Veil Spectre, and that's going to gain Sung-Wook Nam 4 life, which is pretty inconsequential in these control matchups.
I'd say so. When it finally comes down to Paddy Robertson trying to win the game, whether Sung-Wook Nam's on 10 life, 20 life, 30 life, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. No, that's right. As a Temple of Deceit ships the top cards of Paddy's deck to the bottom, as he considers his options, it looks like he's going to go to discard.
Yeah, you can't hold too many cards in your hand at the end of your turn, and yep, he's throwing out a pair of lands.
Down go the lands. There you go. Beautiful beta lands coming from Paddy there into the graveyard as Sung-Wook Nam draws for his turn. He does have access to both blue and white mana thanks to that the Temple of Enlightenment, and of course the Temple of Deceit also providing him with blue.
We know that his only blue card is in his sideboard.
Yes, indeed. Of course, the Notion Thief. We might see the Notion Thief doing some work in post-sideboard games.
We've talked about this earlier about how cool it would be to see that happen. I don't know that it's that likely, but it would be pretty funny.
But it would be very interesting if that were the case. Exactly right. So we do have what looks like a scryline coming down. Paddy being kind enough to move his permanents over a little bit closer, so we can see that is in fact a Temple of Silence, the white-black scryland there. Paddy has a look at the top card of his library and passes the turn straight back with 8 mana available.
Both players a lot of mana available. This is a point of the game that really does favour Paddy. He has used 2 of his Sphinx's Revelations at this point, but Sung-Wook Nam really wanted to close the game out before we got to this point.
And the longer the game goes, the happier Paddy's going to be. There comes the Jace Architect of Thought. I imagine Paddy absolutely cannot stand being blown out by a Hero's Downfall. I would imagine that's going to go straight down so he gets value immediately.
Absolutely.
Having said that, he does have 7 cards in hand.
Yeah, I mean, some of those cards may not be the greatest, so he's going to be happy to throw away the extras that aren't great.
That's right. He's just going to upgrade his hand at this point. And Thoughtseize he's going to be able to cast in any case. I imagine we're going to see the Thoughtseize in one pile, and there it is.
That said, Paddy casting the Thoughtseize this turn taps out his black mana and allows Sung-Wook Nam to use that Mutavault to take out the rest of the Jace.
That's true. So Paddy's going to scoop up 2 cards. Is that correct?
It looks like he's taking the Elspeth land pile, which it's tempting. I'd be wanting to take that pile too. No, he's taking the Thoughtseize.
There you go. Okay, so not interested in the 2 cards. He does have a very full hand. Yep. Are we going to see a Thoughtseize here? He did tap he tapped 2 black sources for the Jace there. He could have kept black mana up instead leaving his basic plains untapped. No way, of course, to go and undo that now.
I imagine he's thinking a little about that.
And he's just discarded. There we go. We see an Azorius Charm hitting the bin. So 7 cards in hand for Paddy as we move now to the end step. I think Sung-Wook Nam having a think about what he's going to do.
Paddy wanted to discard.
Oh, okay, sure.
But Sung-Wook Nam saying, not yet.
Well, it looks like the card's already in the bin, and I think Robertson's taking issue with the fact that it had already been in the bin. So Sung-Wook Nam not able to do anything at the end of that turn, as he did probably assent to the discard there. He does have a Hero's Downfall in his hand, and we're going to probably see that cast now. 2 Underworld Connections in his hand as well.
Now, that's the kind of card Sung-Wook Nam wants to have been using already.
Yeah,
but he's happy to try it now.
Deploying that on the swamp. There you go. Paddy asking, just making sure, is that the target there? And we'll see what he thinks about that. If he has a Detention Sphere, of course, maybe he's happy to answer it after 1 activation, or maybe he's just going to dissolve it straight away. I have a suspicion we're going to see a dissolve, or perhaps a Syncopate is not going to be able to get there for him, and there's the dissolve. There we go. Yep. So a dissolve targeting that Underworld Connections, it's going to hit the bin. Paddy's going to check out the top card of his library, and he's going to leave it there. So Sung-Wook Nam considering his options now.
Yeah, Underworld Connections doesn't seem that strong a card sometimes. It's only 1 extra card a turn, and it's going to cost him life. Paddy Robinson's not threatening Sung-Wook Nam's life total. That Underworld Connections would have fed him a lot of cards, and that's exactly why Paddy took it down with the result.
That's right, and we're going to see a second Underworld Connections here targeting the other swamp. Paddy Robertson not able to counter that. He can syncopate for 1, but obviously Sung-Wook Nam able to pay up to 2, of course.
Yeah.
Are we going to see an attack with the Mutavault here, eh? It seems like Paddy's happy to leave up the black mana for the Doomblade, so I can't see that Mutavault getting in anytime soon.
No, I mean, that Mutavault is being effectively blanked by that Doomblade, but I mean, maybe he forces him to use it.
No, passing the turn. There we go. So drawing a card off the Underworld Connections. So already Underworld Connections replacing itself, and that's all you really want in a card for a card like that. Already getting some value out of it, and here comes the Thoughtseize. There we go.
You and me, I like it to do more than just replace itself. I like it to draw a lot of cards.
Sure, there you go. Well, that's probably going to happen a bit later on. We see a Bile Blight, an almost blank card. I mean, unless an Elspeth comes in with its soldier tokens and 2 Heroes Downfalls. One of those Heroes Downfall, you'd imagine, will be taking care of that Jace before too long. So Sung-Wook Nam with a Bile Blight and a Heroes Downfall in his hand, and Paddy Robertson with a full grip, of course, of 7 cards.
Yeah, at this point, the game is certainly looking like it favours Paddy.
Well, that Underworld Connections could prove to be tricky there. I'm not going to say for a second that Paddy probably isn't worried about that card.
No, of course, that Underworld Connections is a problematic card, but at this point, it's going to really only be Sung-Wook Nam playing catch-up.
But I mean, it is probably the best tool that Mono Black deck has to play catch-up, as we see another activation there. So 2 cards already from that.
Yeah, the Esper control deck certainly is going to give him time to catch up unless Paddy finds a threat to play. And we did already see one Elspeth go to the bottom and another one get exiled.
Yeah, and he still has an Aetherling in his hand, as far as I recall, with enough mana to protect it now. Choosing not to, however, I mean, maybe putting a priority here on counter magic.
Yeah, I think so. I think Paddy's probably thinking if there's anything that Sung-Wook Nam can do, I just want to make sure it doesn't happen, because whether he plays the Aetherling now or in a couple of turns, that probably won't make a great deal of difference.
No, that's right. The Aetherling really just going to mop up the game as we see another Sphinx's Revelation for 5 this time. So absolutely suffocating plays here from Paddy Robertson. That is 3 Sphinx's Revelations so far.
Yep.
He is really burying Sung-Wook Nam in card advantage here. We see a couple of lands. I saw that 4th Sphinx's Revelation now in Paddy's hand, along with a Mutavault, a Black-White Scryland, and a Detention Sphere.
So that Hero's Downfall, the second one that was left in Nam's hand, has now taken down the Jace. Importantly for Paddy, he is aware that he can now play the Aetherling, and there's probably not a lot of removal for it left in Nam's hand.
The Bile-Blight not doing a lot to it. Maybe can fog it for 1 turn, but I mean, the other card in Sung-Wook Nam's hand, probably not going to mean that much at all. Paddy having access to 9 mana, he can blink the Aetherling 3 times if he needs.
Yeah, he doesn't even really need to play it at this point, but if he wants to finish the game, he probably will. Yeah,
sure. Well, I'm sure he's happy enough to make sure he has total control of this game as he draws a Thoughtseize to the front of his hand. I think he'd be Paddy's one of these players, as we just saw in the deck tech. He thrives off information. He thrives off knowing exactly the sort of game he's playing. He's a master of sculpting his game plan to adapt the way that it's the way that the game's going. As we see a Detention Sphere taking care of that Underworld Connections. He's not mucking about. He wants it off the table.
Broken.
Absolutely right. It has been indeed. That connection has indeed been cut off, unfortunately, for Sung-Wook Nam. So Paddy Robertson, with a range of options, he's got an Azorius Charm in his hand, a card that has fallen out of favour in recent times.
Looks like Paddy's got his own Mutavault now.
That's right. That could prove to be an interesting development of this game. He's happy enough to discard the Azorius Charm along with a Temple of Silence. A Desecration Demon now coming down for Sung-Wook Nam. That was that off the top there? I wasn't sure.
I think it was probably off the top. Probably not of much concern to Paddy at this point.
No, I think he's got enough answers to deal with that.
It's a matter of which one he wants to use.
That's exactly right. He's got an Elspeth in hand as well. He's not short on win conditions. I could see a Sphinx as a Supreme Verdict coming down to take care of that one.
Even an Elspeth would do it too.
That's right. It would take care of that problematic demon. I mean, a lot of the Esper matchup against Mono Black is actually just going 1-for-1 against those problem creatures.
Yeah.
As a blue-white based control player, you're happy to get rid of the even a Night Veil Spectre, just the one of. Yep. You're happy you're going to take that trade, the Supreme Verdict for that creature,
which he did earlier in the game. And as we predicted, he's going 1-for-1 with the cards. Another Thoughtseize coming in, and the Sphinx's Revelation, allowing him just to pull way ahead in the card advantage.
That's right, and a Thoughtseize is really going to punish Sung-Wook Nam, as we see an Elspeth come down. Paddy Robertson getting the information he needs, clearing the way to resolve his Haymaker Planeswalker, the 6-drop Elspeth, and you can see very aggressively placing his permanents in the red zone. This is not a ploy. This is not an accident. This is a ploy. Paddy Robertson is one of those players. He gets in your head. He plays very aggressively. He engages the demon mode. He doesn't muck around. He is all about getting in his opponent's head and making sure he's playing the mental game as well as the card game. That's right. I think having his permanents halfway into his opponent's battlefield is actually, in a big way, part of shoring up that advantage he has.
Yep. I mean, at this point, the game's been going for a while. It doesn't look like Paddy's been doing much. And for him to suddenly just tap all of his mana, play a bunch of spells, get that Elspeth up in Sung-Wook Nam's face, Sung-Wook Nam cannot be feeling happy about.
And this is what we were talking about at those critical decision points. And Paddy has decided, right, it's time to go. We're putting our foot onto the accelerator, and we're getting stuck in
Now's the time.
A Grey Merchant of Asphodel, Gazza himself coming down, draining for 4 and gaining Sung-Wook Nam 4, as we see in Underworld Connections on the swamp to the north of your screen. But it is Elspeth Sun's champion having cleared the way with that Thoughtseize. The Hero's Downfall in the bin now. So just a Bile Blight in Sung-Wook Nam's hand. That's going to do some work.
it's going to kill some of those soldiers.
That's right. It's not the worst card to have in this instance. Having said that, we did see a Doomblade earlier when Zhou Zheng was playing, almost like pretty much counter the Bile Blight.
Counter the Bile Blight.
That's right. So Paddy Robertson has that option. He won't be ignorant of it.
No. That's going to be a neat play. But in that case, all of those soldiers could die. Elspeth's just going to bring more to the party.
That's exactly right. Elspeth now really difficult to answer. He's going to be able to protect the Elspeth. If a Hero's Downfall came off the top there for Sung-Wook Nam, that'd be a fantastic draw while Paddy's shields are down. As it is now, a Syncopate in hand, he's in a good spot.
There's a lot of downfalls already in the graveyard. I don't like the chances for Sung-Wook Nam to draw another one.
Absolutely. So we see three more soldiers hitting the battlefield. As you said, Ray, how many Hero's Downfalls in the bin?
At least 2, maybe 3.
I'm pretty
sure there's 3.
I think it is 3. So really, Sung-Wook Nam having to dig pretty deep here to find an answer for that Elspeth that is going to continually apply pressure. Paddy not seeing the reason to attack. He's happy to sit back. He's going to tick up the Elspeth. He's going to counter a Hero's Downfall, which he has, unfortunately for Sung-Wook Nam, he has not drawn. I did see a Devour Flesh in his hand, in addition to that Bile Blight.
Devour Flesh not especially effective against a giant sea of soldier tokens.
No, that's right. Absolutely not. Not at its best. Bile Blight may be going to do some work. We'll have to see how that goes. The Mutavault's still tucked away in Sung-Wook Nam's land somewhere. There it is, just between the swamp and the Temple of Deceit. And let's not forget the Underworld connections. Perhaps we could get that brought down south into the screen a little bit, because it is slightly off, and I don't want our viewers thinking that it's not there. As another 3 soldiers hit the battlefield on Paddy's side of play. There we go. So thanks so much for taking care of that. The people on the table looking after us here in the booth and making sure the stream is the best it can be. We've
very accommodating.
We've had fantastic support staff here the whole weekend. Absolutely. So as Paddy ticks up Elspeth to 7, she's threatening to emblem next turn, which if activated will send an enormous amount of power across the battlefield. 3 power creatures, 9 3/3s flying as well. So the Gazza's not going to do any blocking anytime soon.
Seems that Paddy is trying to go for the one-hit kill.
I think that's a fine play to take. I mean, there's of course Sung-Wook Nam having the capacity to cast Bile Blight to get rid of them. I don't think Paddy will be unaware of the fact that he can Doomblade one of them in response to make that counter.
He's seen that Bile Blight. He knows it's coming.
Yeah. Absolutely, and he's planning for that contingency. He's a meticulous player. He doesn't make mistakes, and he's playing the game that he thinks is going to be his quickest road to victory. As he passes back once again with no attacks.
He's a very, very careful player, it seems.
He's a very, very meticulous player. He doesn't muck around. He knows exactly. He crafts a game plan and he sticks to it, and he adapts to it based on the information that he has. And in this case, we're going to see a Doomblade. That's exactly right. There you go. So that's the play we predicted, and that's the play that's going to come from here from Paddy Robertson. I mean, it is not a surprise at all. At this level of Magic, you don't make mistakes like that.
You've seen these interactions before. You know when they're used.
That's right. And a card for Paddy, as he discussed in his deck tech, a card like Thoughtseize, giving him access to all that information, really enabling him to craft a game plan that's going to win in the game. And you can see the way that he has really controlled this game. He's taken control of the way that it's panned out.
He's dictated the pace of this game, and it's really paying off for him.
And that's all that you really want to do in a game where you're the control deck.
Sung-Wook Nam going with a Thoughtseize. He must be just trying to figure out just how dead he is.
Yeah, I can't imagine that Robertson's too worried about this Thoughtseize. I mean, I don't think he has a hard counter in his hand. No, he does have a Dissolve, so he does have the option of countering it. I'm not sure that he's going to want to burn a counterspell when he doesn't know the contents of Sung-Wook's Nam's hand anymore, seeing as that Bile Blight has been taken out. 3 unknown cards. We in the booth know here that there is a Devour Flesh. Ray, as you said, a dead card.
Yeah, it's not impressive. Elite 1 soldier.
So, there you go. That Thoughtseize resolving and revealing Dissolve, Detention Sphere, Sphinx's Revelation, Syncopate, and Supreme Verdict. A nice bit of redundancy there with the counterspells, Ray.
Yeah, that's a lot of cards. I mean, it's possible the Syncopate won't be able to counter something, but, whatever it can't counter, the Detention Sphere or the Supreme Verdict, that could probably deal with it.
So just looking across at Sung-Wook Nam's hand, he may have another Devour Flesh in his hand. I'm not exactly sure. We'll try to get that information as quick as we can.
Look, if he even has another Bile Blight that can, take out all the soldiers,
I'll tell you what it is. He's got another Gary. He's got another copy of Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Gaza, number 2, and maybe even number 3.
Well, Paddy on 10 life, that might actually be interesting.
So if Sung-Wook Nam's going to strip a counterspell out of Paddy's hand, of course, if Paddy's too worried about it, we might see a Supreme Verdict. I'm not sure about that. Paddy needs to play carefully. Having said that, a massive Sphinx's Revelation can restore his life total.
That's true.
Once again a difficult position for him to win.
As we said, we are expecting Paddy at any moment to attack for a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to see how things go when Paddy gets to untap and perhaps create an Elspeth emblem. I'm not sure how he's going to play this, and obviously a very, very difficult decision point for Sung-Wook Nam. Really, really hitting the tank about this decision.
He's trying to figure out what it is that Paddy can do.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts here? It is the Sphinx's Revelation after all. Okay. So
Yeah,
keeping up
so.
the 2 counter spells, that's going to put Paddy in a good spot, facing down those Grey Merchants of Asphodel.
That's all of Paddy's Sphinx's Revelations gone too now, I think.
Absolutely. Paddy Robinson's deck can't be too big at this point, seeing as he's drawn about 1 million cards off them.
No, I think you're right that Sung-Wook Nam was really just trying to prevent it gaining Paddy too much life.
Yeah, he thinks that he's probably got a shot with his Grey Merchants. Having said that, brute forcing them through counterspells isn't going to be easy, especially they do cost 5.
Yeah, they do. So that looks like the first one coming down.
He's certainly thinking about it.
It's sitting there on the table.
So the first one has come down.
He has the tap.
No, he's attacking Elspeth with the original
previous
Gary.
one.
Yeah, there we go. So he's going to see what's going to happen here with that. I imagine we're going to see a block from one of the soldier tokens, or even maybe the Mutavault. I don't know. I mean, it depends what Paddy's happy to do here. I would imagine the soldier token is probably going to hit the dirt.
Yeah, one of those soldier tokens is probably going to take one for the team.
Yeah, yeah, that's
It's
right.
a team.
I mean, it is a team, and every no, there we go.
Wow.
The octuple block there.
All,
the
one in, all in.
block. That's right. So getting rid of them and removing 2 of the soldier tokens, the 2/4 hitting the bin. So it looks like Sung-Wook Nam not on the Grey Merchant plan. Grey Merchants, of course, better in multiples, powering their own devotion. So obviously happy to suicide in that Grey Merchant.
It's entirely possible that Sung-Wook Nam was just expecting Paddy to throw one soldier in front of it.
Paddy not mucking around. In they go. Eight of them. Yeah. 8 of the bad boys lining up and taking the punishment. 2 of them hitting the bin, and the
it is possible that Paddy suspected, you know what, if he has another Grey Merchant, I could be in trouble despite the overwhelming advantage he has. So, good idea. Throw all the soldiers in front.
I agree. I mean,
get that devotion low.
Grey Merchant really able to take games out of nowhere. We do have the Underworld connections, which just snuck up to the north of the screen once again. I'm so sorry about that. In any case, we will remember that it's there. It is slightly off screen, but that's okay. We're not going to forget about that anytime
Underworld connections do sound pretty sneaky, so it's not surprising they're going to try and sneak
off-screen connections at this point, isn't it? That's right. All right, here come the Mutavaults. Is that right? He hasn't tapped any mana so far. He's doing some quick maths, figuring out exactly how much damage he can do. Sung-Wook Nam on 17 points. He can play a Devour Flesh, targeting himself and sack his Mutavault to gain 2 life if he needs to. That is a way to gain life that he does have, as we see a Mutavault activation. And in they come without an Elspeth ultimate activation. Very interesting here. As Mutavault blocks one of the tokens, and Sung-Wook Nam looks set to take 7 damage. So Paddy Robertson happy to keep the Elspeth around. He doesn't want to cash her in just yet, as he lays 3 more soldier tokens.
There are plenty more soldiers to come.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see an emblem next turn, which is going to chuck all of those soldiers into the air.
How many soldiers have we got there? I can see 8, 9 soldiers and 2 Mutavaults from Paddy.
I think it's a bit fewer than 9. I think we're at 7.
Soldiers?
7 soldier tokens. That's right. We've got 5 tapped and 3 untapped, so that's 8.
Well, so we're in the middle then.
We're in the middle. There you go. Well done. There you go.
But
Meeting
between
in the middle.
that and the Mutavaults that Paddy has, I don't even know that he needs the emblem.
So down, that's a very good point, Ray. Sung-Wook Nam going down to 9 life here after an Underworld Connections activation. So he's on 9. A Thoughtseize against Paddy Robertson. That's going to punish him once again. I could imagine this eating a counterspell. And then a Grey Merchant perhaps is going to come down. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's what Sung-Wook Nam's going for. This could be closer than we expect, but let's see what Paddy does. He can counter the Thoughtseize, or he can have the Thoughtseize take away his counter. That would at least take 2 off Sung-Wook Nam's life total.
Yeah, which is not inconsequential, of course. Having said that, a Grey Merchant's going to come down and drain for 4, so taking Paddy to 6. And no Sphinx's Revelations left, so there's not going to be a way for him to refill his life total.
No. So it looks like Sung-Wook Nam is going to take the pain from that Thoughtseize.
And he packs him up. There you go. Okay, so Sung-Wook Nam having enough in game number 1, and the local hero, Paddy Robertson, getting there in game number 1. The big dog himself all the way to game 2, so they're going to hit the sideboards, Ray. A lot of cards coming out, a lot of cards coming in. Talk us through the sideboarding plans that these two players have on their minds right now.
Well, knowing that the game is going to go long, Sung-Wook Nam obviously wants to be prepared for that. He has Erebos, God of the Dead, which is going to work a bit like an additional Underworld Connections.
Yeah.
He's got Duresses to just really double down on that Thoughtseize hand disruption.
And no fewer than 4 of them as well, Ray.
Yeah, that's a lot. I remember when Duress first came out, I would have loved to have played 8. Sung-Wook Nam's going to do that.
Yeah.
In the other seat, Paddy Robertson, he's probably got more he can use to go into the late game. He's got Blood Baron of Viscopa. We saw him almost succumb to that last round, but still came over it. Protection from black, that's going to be kind of problematic for Sung-Wook Nam.
Absolutely, it is. That's absolutely right. I could see Negates coming in to maybe protect himself from those Underworld Connections, and Thoughtseize is going to be a really, really important card for both of these players.
That's right. If Sung-Wook Nam's going to be denying Paddy Robinson the ability to respond to his threats easily, maybe Paddy should do the same. Go back and take out the threats proactively.
I agree. That's right. A proactive game plan is what these players may be looking at post-sideboarding. Now, let's discuss the card that everyone wants to hear about. It is Notion Thief. Sung-Wook Nam putting this card in his deck very deliberately, obviously. It's found its way to the final of a GP. What's going to happen if this card is... I mean, of course, as we discussed, it's the only blue card in the deck, apart from the Nightveil Spectre, but it is the only card that requires blue mana to cast it.
It's the only card that requires the Watery Grave there to support it.
That's right.
And we discussed this earlier. Is there any other reason that this card could be there other than Sphinx's Revelation? And I don't think there is.
I don't think there is. The Flash 3-1, stands to be a real blowout against Robertson. I don't know if he knows it's in his deck. I mean, you can't play around it too much.
No, I mean, you certainly wouldn't be expecting it, right? It's not a common thing to come out of a mono-black control deck. But if they've seen each other's deck lists, Paddy Robertson probably got to the bottom of that, was like, Notion Thief?
All right, well...
So if he's aware of that possibility, maybe he'll bear that in mind. But there's only one. And maybe that's intentional. If you know there's only one, sometimes you just got to go for it and hope he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see if it happens. But with Paddy up one game, Sung-Wook Nam may not have the time to try it.
So Paddy Robertson obviously looking to shave some dead cards from his deck. I think we're going to see a Zora's Charm come out. He's always happy to side that out in game 2. Doomblade, obviously, a slam dunk card.
It's a neat trick when you're facing a Bile Blight on your soldier tokens, but that doesn't make it worthy of staying in the deck when you're facing a mono black deck.
Absolutely, definitely not. No, it's not. I could see Ultimate Price maybe, although it doesn't hit Nightveil Spectres. It does take care of Packrat. A turn 2 Packrat. Having said that, Ray, I mean, really, how worried is a blue-white based deck about a Packrat?
Not at all. Most decks are quite concerned about it. He can drop a Packrat, he can make another Nat, he can make another Rat, he can make another Rat. Control player's just going to yawn, play a Supreme Verdict.
Or a Detention Sphere.
Yeah. He's got so many answers.
Yeah, I mean, eight main deck answers. I don't think he's too worried about the menace that is the two mana 1/1.
I wonder if Sung-Wook Nam is even considering boarding them out. Just seeing how fragile they are against Paddy Robinson's
I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him for doing so. I mean, it is a very powerful card, but not at its best in the blue-white based control matchup.
I mean, Sung-Wook Nam's probably going to lean more on these Nightveil Spectres, Desecration Demons, and even the Grey Merchants than he is the Packrats.
Absolutely right. So I'm looking now at Erebos, God of the Dead. I've faced this card down in many games when I'm playing blue-white control, and I tell you what, I don't like seeing it.
It looks like a nightmare. I mean, the Detention Sphere can deal with it.
Very handily so.
But the Supreme Verdict certainly cannot.
No, and on top of that, it's both of its abilities just at their most relevant in a blue-white based control match. Players can't... Oh, sorry, your opponents can't gain life.
Yeah.
Sphinx's Revelations, all of a sudden, they're just Blue Sun Zeniths. It's not where you want to be.
Blue Sun Zeniths that don't shuffle
That don't even shuffle back in, that's right. And moving on to the pay 2 life, draw a card. I mean, that's all you want to be doing.
Yeah.
Your life total is not important in these matchups. If they can kill you from 20, they can kill you from any number, and even if you're down to 10, 8, 6 life, I mean, the game's over when the game's over.
That's right. Nam's not upset if he doesn't have the devotion for that god. Erebos is happy to sit there and go, sure, cool, I'll feed him more cards. He'll get devotion soon enough.
That's right, and we do see the Erebos in Sung-Wook Nam's opening hand, so he does already have access to it. I think that's come straight in from the board, exactly right. Paddy Robertson and Sung-Wook Nam both leading with Temples of Deceit. Sung-Wook Nam a Duress on turn number 1. Down come the cards. We do have a Mutavault, a Godless Shrine, a Hallowed Fountain, a Temple of Silence, a Temple of Enlightenment, a Jace Architect of Thought, and an Elspeth Sun's Champion. So he's going to be able to pick between the two Planeswalkers here. Paddy Robertson keeping a very land-heavy hand. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I like keeping the land-heavy hand. There are a lot of answers off the top of the deck that Paddy can draw, and all he needs is the land to play them. He knows he's probably going to be facing Duresses and Thoughtseizes early in the game. So, what does it matter if he tears the hand apart? He's got to be ready to play off the top of his deck, and land is what he needs to do that.
That's right. I mean, if he's looking at a low land canned hand, He may be more resilient against Thoughtseizes and Duresses. Having said that, with 8 effects that rip cards out of your opponent's hand, I mean,
You just got to build yourself to be ready to play off the top of your deck.
that's exactly right. You're exactly right, Ray, and that's a really insightful point about the way that these matches end up working out post board.
Yep.
And there's a Night Vale Spectre. So Paddy so far dodging a pack rat that he'd be pretty soft to right now.
Yeah, he would. I mean, he'd have to draw an answer to it, but he's also kind of soft to this Night Vale Spectre unless he draws an answer too.
That's right. Having said that, the Night Vale Spectre isn't oppressively aggressive.
No, it's certainly not going to be attacking for 10, 15, 16 damage like those rats can very quickly.
No, that's right. And I don't think Paddy's too worried about his draw steps at this point. He's going to draw cards that he likes. He's got the scry. He's got a couple of Skylands to set up the draws that he prefers. As he sends a card to the bottom, an interesting interaction between the Skylands, of course, and the Night Vale Spectres. You have to send the good cards away.
Yeah, you don't want to leave something there that Sung-Wook can actually get use out of. And having those temples there to give him the blue mana, he might have something he can play.
Which is exactly what's happened here, Ray. He has hit a Dissolve off the top, which he can cast.
That is powerful.
That is very, very powerful. And Erebos, God of the Dead, you've got to be happy if you're Sung-Wook Nam right now. He's developed his board very, very nicely.
He's probably thinking, that's more like it.
Absolutely. A Night Vale Spectre hitting a key card here in Dissolve, and then an Erebos, God of the Dead, is going to do some
one
work,
away
you'd
from
imagine.
getting active.
Yeah.
One devotion.
That's very true. Only one devotion required to turn Erebos into a massive, indestructible creature.
Yeah, it's just call now, he says. One more follower is all we need.
That's right. As the Night Vale Spectre comes across for another 2 points of damage, that's going to exile the top card of his library, and it is Elspeth, Sun's champion.
Much less of a concern for Paddy right now.
You'd think so, exactly right, but it does take it out of his deck. It does remove it from him being able to cast
Sung-Wook Nam came very close to casting it last game.
Yeah, with only one white source, of course. He only needed one more to be able to get there and cast an Elspeth. Unfortunately, not quite enough for him in the last game. Sung-Wook Nam not able to get there. But with an Erebos on the table, with a Night Vale Spectre powering up the devotion count, Erebos needs to become a creature. Sung-Wook Nam in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, Paddy Robertson pretty much needs to find a supreme verdict soon, not later. Paddy's having a good think about this. Yeah, I can't blame him.
He's got lands in his hand, so it's not that he's stuck for lands. He's thinking about what he's going to do. We're going to see a Mutavault and passing the turn. So a Mutavault coming down, giving Paddy access to 5 mana. I don't see any huge spells in his hand, apart from say we do have a Jace, Architect of Thought, that could be cast there, of course, as Sung-Wook Nam. Okay.
During your upkeep.
Says Paddy. So there we go. We're just checking what happened there. Sung-Wook Nam attempting to draw a card, or drawing a card off the Erebos, God of the Dead, and Paddy stopping him in his upkeep. They are having a chat to the judge to see what happens here.
It's almost comical that it appears that they're communicating to us with their hand movements.
Yeah, that's right. Paddy explaining what's going on by the look of things. About his upkeep, about what he was wanting to do in his opponent's upkeep. I'm not entirely sure what it might be. We don't have an excellent look at his hand.
No, I'd like to say I'd be able to see whether a judge is over there, but there's a huge crowd around that table. We have no idea what's going on in there.
Yeah, that's right. It's difficult to see what's going on over in the feature match area from where we're seated right now. So obviously a discussion underway with the judges. We're going to have this figured out exactly as soon as we can about what's happening here. Whether Sung-Wook Nam has seen the top card of his library, if Paddy has asked him to stop during his upkeep, and how exactly the table judge is going to deal with that. Moving on, however, we do. It is.
So assuming whatever's happening now, just continue. We continue. Looking at this position, it does not look great for Paddy.
No,
but he's not out by any stretch.
No, of course not. No, he's just. I mean, he may be on the back foot. I mean, facing down an Erebos is no small feat. I mean, it's not. That's a high impact card, but all it takes is a detention sphere off the top that's going to be able to take care of that.
Absolutely.
Of course, mono black unable to remove enchantments.
Not its best side, no.
No, of course not. It's not its core strength, really, removing enchantments. So if a detention sphere comes down, it may as well be a Vindicate, basically.
Yeah. Well, okay, so they're talking about tapping lands now.
As the players discuss what's happening here at this game state. Obviously, we're not privy to what's going on at on the table, having to guess basically based on the gestures and hand movements of these players. But it does seem to be a rather intense discussion.
Yeah, the last thing Sung-Wook Nam was doing was activating his Erebos to draw cards.
So. Oh, it looks like Paddy wanted to do something during his end step when he was tapped out.
Righto.
So we're going to make sure that that's the case before we commit to that. But maybe Paddy was wanting to do something at instant speed while Sung-Wook Nam was tapped out, because of course he does have access to a dissolve.
Right. Yes, of course. And it's not often that the Esper player versus the mono black player needs to wait till the shields are down, but now's a good time.
And it looks like they're stuck in the end step of Sung-Wook Nam. But we're just figuring out exactly what's going on here. As Sung-Wook Nam has drawn a card off the Erebos, I think Paddy asked him to stop after that. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. We're going to find out. We do have people working on that right now. In any case, as we said, Paddy not in the best spot. His hand does include an Elspeth, which could come down next turn, but you'd think it's going to eat a Hero's Downfall.
Yeah, if Sung-Wook Nam's got a Hero's Downfall, I would point it right at that Elspeth.
All right, what are we looking at here? We're looking at a Sphinx's Revelation for 2, so that's going to draw him two. That's going to draw him 2 cards. I don't know if Sung-Wook Nam adjusted the life totals there, but of course he can't gain life off that Sphinx's Revelation. So no changes to the life totals thanks to that thanks to that Erebos static ability where your opponents cannot gain life.
So what's happening there basically is Paddy knows that Sung-Wook Nam now has one of his dissolves at his disposal. He's trying to find that Supreme Verdict. The Supreme Verdict gets around to dissolve quite happily. So while Sung-Wook Nam's shields are down, he's throwing it. It's a small Sphinx's Revelation, but it's probably an important one if it's going to dig him closer to the Supreme Verdict.
It's definitely the one he needs. Exactly. He needs to find his way to a Wrath that's going to get rid of that problem there, the problem Nightveil Spectre, which has just drawn an island off the top of Paddy's deck. So we had clarification from the floor. Basically what happened was Sung-Wook Nam drew 2 cards with Erebos, and Paddy wanted to play something while tapped out. So Sung-Wook Nam attempting to go to the Is next turn, but Paddy saying, stop, I've got something to do during your end step while you're tapped out, while you don't have access to that dissolve. And so they've been able to rewind there, and obviously good communication, a key part of a successful game of Magic.
Absolutely.
As now Sung-Wook Nam puts a Temple of Deceit into play. He's going to scry and have a look at the contents of his hand.
He got a land with the Nightveil Spectre, but chose to play one of his own to scry instead.
It's very interesting. Yeah, maybe he really just wants to keep the momentum going, make sure he's got the cards that he wants.
Make sure he's got the card he needs for next turn. I guess he understands that what Paddy needs to do now is a Supreme Verdict or something, so he's going to tap out. So I think Sung-Wook Nam is trying to sculpt the turn that he has while Paddy is tapped out.
And there's an Elspeth hard cast from Paddy's hand, and the card cast by exiled underneath the Nightveil Spectre was a dissolve. So that dissolve, it's Paddy's own dissolve, but it has countered Paddy's spell after having been nicked off him by the Nightveil Spectre. So that's an unfortunate state of affairs from Paddy. But I guess, I mean, look, it was on board. He knew it was there.
It's going to be there.
Just had to get rid of it.
That's right. And I think Sung-Wook Nam, as I said, was playing that Scryland so that he could use this window of opportunity he has now to do whatever it is he's going to do.
Yeah.
Is he going to wake up Erebos, the God of the Dead? Who knows?
So there goes the island.
He's played the island.
There goes the island. That's Paddy Robertson's island, of course, taken off the top of his deck with the Nightveil Spectre. 4 mana tapped. We're going to see a Desecration Demon come into play. That's going to wake up Erebos, and in rumble the 2 creatures for 6 or 7 damage, I should say. 7 damage, is that right? Going down to 9. That's right. And a Sphinx's Revelation off the top from the Nightveil Spectre, which he can cast. Sung-Wook Nam able to cast a Sphinx's Revelation, and of course he's going to be able to gain life off it. Oh, no, sorry, he doesn't have a white source just yet. I'm sorry about that. He doesn't have a white source just yet, but he's 1 white source away from having a revelation of his own. So Paddy definitely with his back against the wall here. The Erebos doing work along with the Nightveil Spectre. And that Desecration Demon not to be trifled with either. We don't have a Wrath. A Thoughtseize is going to come down now for Paddy. He's going to have a look at his opponent's hands. He likes to do this. He likes to see what's going on. And there is a hand, a Desecration Demon.
There's a lot in that hand.
The Desecration Demon, a couple of swamps I can see, a few other cards that haven't yet been revealed to us. We're going to see what's happening with that Thoughtseize.
I think it might even be 4 swamps. 4 swamps, a Hero's Downfall, and a Desecration Demon. That's a lot less threatening than a hand of 6 unknown cards.
Yeah, exactly right. So there it is. You're exactly right. 4 swamps, and then I imagine I'm going to guess that's a Hero's Downfall underneath the.
That's what it looks like.
The Desecration Demon, and there it is, a Hero's Downfall indeed. So.
Yeah. So Paddy's got to feel a little better now that he's seen that hand, but he still needs to play something.
Yeah, he's got a Fated Retribution in his hand.
Oh, but he can't quite. He's not quite.
He can't quite cast it, and it does seem that he's in a bad way. And is that a? Oh, the slow roll from the big dog. No one knowing, absolutely blind to that Supreme Verdict, holding it at the back of his hand. Absolute blowout there. It's the absolute slow roll. Fantastic stuff from Robertson.
It's almost like he knew he was on camera.
It's almost like he knew he was on camera.
Did somebody tell him?
Unbelievable slow roll there from Robertson. And look, you know what? It's a classic Paddy play. Down comes another Nightveil Spectre. We were thinking he was stone cold dead in the water without that supreme verdict, but there it was, and that's going to take care of the Night Vale Spectre and the Desecration Demon, and of course a duress now coming across the field here, and the Fated Retribution hitting the bin. Paddy's got to be upset about that, of course, because that was going to be in a good spot to take care of both the Night Vale Spectre and the Desecration Demon that's still in Sung-Wook Nam's hand.
I thought he took that with a Thoughtseize.
The
demon.
The demon. Oh, he did indeed. I'm sorry about that. He did, so he's not worried about it.
A Hero's Downfall.
Is 4 Swamps in the Hero's Downfall. I do apologize. I did get that one wrong.
The Spectre is still in play, though, the replacement Spectre.
That's right. So Paddy Robertson draws a Hallowed Fountain. He's going to have a look at the top of his library, and he's going to leave it there. So allowing Sung-Wook Nam, presumably, to draw that card and pass the turn back. 3 lands in Robertson's hands, 4 in Sung-Wook Nam's, including a Hero's Downfall, and a Mutavault, drawing a second card here. So 1 from the Erebos and 2 Mutavaults off the top.
Wow. Sung-Wook Nam's life total is quite low thanks to this Erebos, but
it's kept him up. It's kept him ahead on cards. Another card from the Erebos God of the Dead. That's going to take him down to 6 here. Of course, not much in the way of reach when it comes to the Esper control deck.
What's interesting here is
it's taken him down to 4 actually.
Yeah.
All the way down to 4. Right.
Paddy has a Mutavault in play. Now he knows.
As a Blood Baron gets nicked by the Night Vale Spectre, Paddy left that on top.
Yeah.
And Paddy scooping him up. They're going to game 3. There you go. Not enough for Paddy Robertson at the end of the game there. I guess Paddy very worried about ripping a Sung-Wook Nam ripping a White Source, not wanting to get him the access to that Sphinx's Revelation. Happy to give him the Blood Baron. Unfortunately for Paddy, but very fortunately for Sung-Wook Nam, it is a 1-1 tie. We are going to the third game, the final. Absolutely palpitating stuff here. A thrilling match of Magic between 2 very powerful Wizards, Ray.
I thought Paddy was dead for a long time there. He held on for a very long time, and towards the end, we thought he might actually pull this one out.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen this happen. We've seen the Australians go down swinging. They don't give up.
Very much so.
And in the case of the Jund Monsters deck before, piloted by Ash from Western Australia, he ended up taking a game out of nowhere, as we saw, and that was an amazing feat. Unfortunately, Robertson not able to get there with this match, which is with this game, but we still do have one game to go.
This is the one game worth it all.
This is the one game where it all comes down to this: the trophy, the glory, the fame. The title, the GP champion of Melbourne 2014 will be decided by this game of Magic. Paddy Robertson, the local hero, as I said, he lives just down the road. He's been testing and preparing extensively for this event, facing off against South Korea's best, Nam Sung-Wook, of course, a member of the world team, as you said.
Yeah, 2013 and 2008.
Representing South Korea, I'm sure in good order, both of those
representing
years.
them now and representing them then.
Absolutely. So as the players shuffle up their decks for the next round, we did see Erebos God of the Dead. I did say that was going to come in for the sideboard, and we did see it have an enormous impact on the game, Ray.
It was a powerful card, and it basically drove Sung-Wook Nam to victory. He managed to just use his life total that Paddy was not able to touch, draw a bunch of extra cards, and overpower him, taking it to the third game.
That's right. Paddy keeping a hand that was pretty soft against a lot of starts from the mono black deck with the Jace and the Elspeth and 5 lands. Having said that, definitely not out of it, not dead in the water.
No, I liked that hand, despite it not really working out in that game. I liked the idea that he had a hand that was, he knew Sung-Wook Nam was going to come screaming out of the gates with Duresses, with Thoughtseizes. He's like, take what I got. I've got a bunch of lands. I'm going to play off the top.
And unfortunately, not getting there this time. Unfortunately for Paddy, unable to draw the cards he needs. As he looks at his opening 7, we can see a few lands. We can see a Detention Sphere, some Scry lands in there as well, and that looks like a hand that is chock full of lands and a Jace as well. So there we go. A couple of non-land permanents as well that might and Paddy just a stone cold keep straight away, not mucking around at all with a Temple of Deceit coming into play, scrying 1 and matched with the Watery Grave on Sung-Wook Nook's turn.
I think a similar kick to last round. He knows that he's going to want land, and his hand's given him the land. He's great. I'm set up for what I want to do, which is take this long and have the lands do everything I want.
And there's a duress, so that's going to be able to pick apart his hand, and 2 Jaces. Nice to see a bit of redundancy there against the discard effects. I think Paddy would be happy to keep a Detention Sphere here against early pressure from an Underworld Connections, or perhaps a Night Vale Spectre, even an Erebos God of the Dead.
Yeah, or a Pack Rat if it's still there.
That's right.
Whatever it is, we're assuming he's going to take one of the Jaces. if he doesn't, it's telegraphing that he's got an early threat. There it is. He's
It is
taking
a
the
detention sphere.
sphere.
So there we go. An early threat. Probably coming our way from Sung-Wook Nam as we see another lane come into play. It looks like a swamp, and we don't have another duress type effect from Nam just yet. Paddy draws a card, and we're going to see a Thoughtseize on his side of the board now. He's going
Paddy wants to see what it is he was trying to keep that detention sphere away from.
That's right. He's going to see what's up, and we do have Lifebane zombies that have found their way into Sung-Wook Nam's main deck. They've come out of the board.
Yep. So he's got a Spectre there. That was probably candidate number 1 that he was protecting from the sphere.
Yeah.
But there, as you say, there's the Lifebane zombie as well. There's also an Erebos God of the Dead.
There is an Erebos God of the Dead joined by 2 Mutavaults and a Lifebane zombie. Sorry, we've already said that one there, of course. This is a really...
Is that 3 Mutavaults in his hand?
That is 3 Mutavaults in his hand. Not a color-intensive hand. He's not casting that Nightveil Spectre anytime soon.
No, he's not, no.
And there goes the
those
zombie.
Mutavaults are... pretty good against Supreme Verdicts.
That's right. I mean, yeah, they are indeed. I mean, Robertson obviously doesn't have the option to take them with the Thoughtseize, but obviously
he doesn't have Quicken like some of the Esper decks we've seen this weekend.
No, that's right. Fated Retribution might do some work if he can get there, but at the moment, yeah, Mutavault's not quite going to get there. And another Lifebane zombie off the top. 2 Islands, 2 Jace for Paddy as a 3-1 Intimidate comes down on Nam's side of the board. So that's going to put some pressure on his first Jace. As Jace comes down, I imagine Paddy's going to want to cash in for some cards here. Having said that, he may go up. What are your thoughts?
No, I think he might wind this one up. He's going to keep that Jace alive, keeping the Lifebane zombie down as far as its attack is concerned, and then help use it to keep him alive.
There you go. Okay, so Jace going all the way up to 5 loyalty counters, going to create a delayed trigger effect if that Lifebane zombie attacks and make it a 2-1, putting pressure on the Jace rather than himself, and with a second Jace to back up, I think he's pretty happy to see this one. Maybe not put to best use.
That's
I imagine
right.
we're going to see an Erebos God of the Dead now. Yeah, exactly.
I think Paddy knows that he's got 2 Jaces, but that's all he's got right now, so he's going to get as much out of them as he can.
Yeah.
That Erebos only needs 2 more devoted followers to get active.
As a split from Jace puts 2 lands and a Thoughtseize into different piles, a Plains and a Mutavault against a Thoughtseize. Paddy's going to have a think about that and decide which one he wants. What do you fancy here?
Well, look, we know he's got a second Jace in his hand, which he's going to be able to play after a Thoughtseize if he takes that. He's taken the land instead. I don't dislike that play either. What, he's leaving them on the table?
No, he's letting Nam write them down.
That's a fair play.
Yeah.
So I think at this point he's definitely going to be playing another Jace, but not this turn. He's happy to let Sung-Wook Nam attack it down first.
We might see a second Jace, honestly. I mean, Paddy's having a look at the top of his deck. We might see a second Jace, sacrificing the first one, and then going up to keep that Lifebane zombie in check.
I mean, he doesn't need to keep the Lifebane zombie in check if it's what it's going to do next turn is finish off that Jace. But then again, it is not doing anything useful with the 4 mana he's got in play this turn.
Yeah.
So
he's also got 2 Mutavaults as well. So he's passed the turn back. Sung-Wook Nam having 2 Mutavaults. So, this could be a bit of a beating for Robertson this turn. He's looking to take a fair bit of damage if Nam decides to get in on that plan. Having said that, he could play a creature card with 2 Devotion, or any card with 2 Devotion.
Yeah, Underworld Connections will do it.
That'll turn on that Erebos. So another Mutavault in hand for Nam. He still doesn't have access to triple black, although I saw a swamp in his hand, so he can cast a Nightveil Spectre this turn if he so chooses. And it's going to be another Lifebane zombie. So he's going to get another look at Paddy's hand, and there it is: Mutavault, Plains, Island, Jace, and a Last Breath. The Last Breath is not able to take out those Lifebane zombies. Having said that,
they're a bit too big.
They're a bit too big, but with the Jace trigger from a +1, shrinking him down to 2-1, and then see you later into the exile zone for you, Lifebane zombie. And here is the Mutavault slamming the Mutavault into what he knows is a Last Breath, maybe forcing the issue. And we do have the Erebos turned on by that Lifebane zombie, so an enormous amount of damage coming Paddy's way.
Yeah, Paddy's going to have to find an answer to this very soon. Well, creatures are awake. They're considering an attack. They're just waiting the word from the boss, and then they come.
And in they come. So there we go. We've got 5, 8, and also an attack at Jace as well, just to finish him off, as well as the Mutavault and Erebos going at Paddy.
I like Sung-Wook Nam's play there. He sent the Lifebane Zombie towards Jace, even though Jace only has 1 loyalty, because he knows that Paddy can't protect the Jace with the last breath.
Or if the Lifebane Zombie attacks, of course, yeah.
If the Mutavault instead attacks,
he's going to be able to get rid of. Yeah, he's going to be able to get rid of it. So Paddy, considering his options here, that Erebos very oppressive. Paddy's looking to protect his life total because, of course, with that Erebos in play, he can't gain life.
No, that's right. He often can. His deck is especially good at trading 1-for-1 cards and eventually topping up his life total in his hand with a Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, absolutely.
Erebos excellent against that.
Yeah, and there goes the Jace, and he's going to take 7 off the Erebos and the Mutavault. So Paddy's gone down to 11 here. And as he draws a detention sphere, that's a great rip for Paddy there. That is an excellent rip. There you go. So he's got the choice here. He can either hit the Erebos, but no, he's going to take the 2-for-1. He's going to take the 2-for-1. Exactly right. He's you know what? He's going to deal with the Erebos later.
Yeah, Erebos, stops drawing cards, whatever else. If he leaves those Lifebane Zombies, there's 2 Mutavaults, 2 Lifebane Zombies. That would drop Paddy to 1.
Yeah, that's not the position he wants to be in. No,
No.
absolutely not.
Because then a Supreme Verdict doesn't even stop the Mutavaults.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to be those zombies.
It's got to be those zombies. Yeah. So drawing a very timely detention sphere there for Paddy Robertson as he approaches an enormous, quite a large amount of mana. He's got another Jace in hand. He's going to trade it. He's going to offer the trade off with the Mutavault, and it's going to get there as well. So Paddy's only going to take 2. A very conservative play there from Paddy, preserving his life total, trading off his lands.
Yep. So that leaves still 2 Mutavaults for Sung-Wook Nam, though. He's had quite a few of them this game.
As we see an island, 4 mana, and here comes another Jace.
Just a second Jace.
And
That Jace, of course, is going to...
Jace is going to go down and split, and there we see a Dissolve. That's going to be a key card for Paddy here, as well as a Revoke Existence. A Revoke Existence, of course, able to take care of the Erebos. Paddy, if he chooses to take it, and he does a slam dunk into the hand, that has opened this game wide up, because there goes the Erebos. He's going to draw a card off it before it says goodbye and heads into the exile zone. But Paddy Robertson back in this game, able to gain life once again. A couple of draw steps still in it for Robertson here. He's not out of contention yet.
That Jace is probably going to succumb to one of those Mutavaults. But getting that Erebos off the board is huge.
Absolutely right.
He can now recover cards in his hand and life with a Sphinx's Revelation.
If he casts a Sphinx's Revelation here, you'd have to think that he's definitely got a fighting chance of getting back into this game. Right?
Yeah. It's. I don't want to say it's anyone's game yet, but it's looking less and less like a walkover.
Absolutely right. We do have, I think it's just 2 lands in Paddy's hand. No, and the Last Breath, of course. So with Duress sending that Last Breath to the bin, I don't think Paddy's going to be too unhappy to have the Duress snag that card over, say, a powerful permanent like say an Elspeth or something like that.
Well, yes, of course, but I mean, I think he probably was hoping he was going to get one of those Mutavaults with it.
So there, a land off the top of Paddy, or perhaps it was a land from his hand. We're not sure what's in his hand.
I think it was a land because he had islands in his hand. We didn't see what he drew, but he's played one of the islands. It looks like Sung-Wook Nam's. He's got a Nightveil Spectre.
That Nightveil Spectre has been in his hand for a while. He's going to have a look at the top card of his library. So Paddy Robertson still in it, but having to do a bit of work here as he goes down to 5 life. As he draws for the turn, I can see 2 lands in his hand. The concession from Paddy Robertson. There it is. We do have a result. Our champion of GP Melbourne, Sung-Wook Nam, all the way from South Korea, taking it home. And well done indeed. Congratulations to Sung-Wook Nam, the champion of GP Melbourne. Paddy Robertson, a very, very honourable runner-up today.
Yeah, those Mutavaults were huge for Sung-Wook Nam. They got around any Supreme Verdicts that Paddy could have had. Not that he had one, but it looked like it was quite convincing for Sung-Wook Nam in those last few turns.
Sung-Wook Nam really doing a lot of work with I think we saw all 4 Mutavaults, maybe just 3.
I think it was just 3.
Just 3, but still, I mean,
still a lot.
In a deck that is wanting to cast Nightveil Spectre, is wanting to do all of that stuff, maybe you think the Mutavault not the best fit for the hand that he had. Having said that, that's what got him there. That's what got him over the line. Paddy drawing blanks towards the end of the game as we bring it back to the booth here. Riley Knight here with Ray Walkinshaw. What a finish. So we had, of course, Sung-Wook Nam, our GP Melbourne champion. Congratulations to him. A hard-fought victory at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, the real winner, of course, is Magic.
Oh, of course. Looking at that match, I would have thought that Paddy was favoured. I would have thought that he had the upper hand for that. But Sung-Wook Nam showed why the mono black deck is so strong that it can even overpower those powerful control decks. Like
that's right. And obviously, look, Paddy drawing blanks towards the end of the game, ripping lands off the top. That's not the position you want to be in when you're in that after that revoke that clutch revoke existence, putting it back in the game. That's right. But unfortunately for him, not getting there. But the raw power of the mono black deck, once again, it has found its way to the top tables in Standard, and I'm sure people around the world will be taking note of the fact that the mono black deck is up at the top. We didn't see the Notion thing.
I was just thinking that.
We didn't see the
I was
Notion
just thinking,
Thief.
it's a shame
Unfortunately, we
we didn't
didn't
see
see
the
the sick tech coming from the South Korean Sung-Wook Nam. Unfortunately, not getting stuck in with the 3-1 flash.
That's okay. Everyone else out there can give it a go now.
Yeah, that's right. If it's made its way into a GP winning deck list, there might be something to it. Ray Walkinshaw.
You never know. I think that Notion Thief could be the secret. It could be his lucky charm, and maybe players at home can give it a go.
I don't know. We'll see how things shake out. But look, it's been a fantastic weekend of Magic. It's been amazing to see the decks that have made their ways to the top of the tables, and a fantastic final between Paddy Robertson, the local hero, and he can't be unhappy with the runner-up.
Of course not. We've seen some crazy entertaining games in the top 8 this weekend.
Absolutely right. It's been fantastic. It's been so good to showcase Australian Magic to the world. We've had a great time here hosting the stream for you guys. We've had a fantastic support staff. I'd like to thank Marshall. I'd like to thank Randy, and I'd like to thank Rashad, flying all the way from Valencia, pretty much. They had one night stop over in the States before joining us here. And so thanks so much for those guys. I'd also like to thank our support team sitting over here, invisible to the guys at home. We have Bo Brooks. We have Scott over there. We've got Marco Sayers and Noel Neo that have kept everything running. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much to all the judges, of course, running this event smoothly. All of the vendors, all of the support staff, and of course, all of the players. Ray here throughout GP Melbourne, making the weekend such a success. So we're done. That's it. It is the end of a fantastic weekend of Melbourne. I hope you've enjoyed your experience here, the first showcase of Australian Magic to the world. GP Barcelona is not far away. We do have almost 24-hour continuous streaming coverage of Magic. And I tell you what, if we've got more Australian Grand Prix on the way, that's how it's going to be in the future.
Let's hope so.
Absolutely fantastic. We're hoping to see you guys really soon once again here in Australia. It's been a great pleasure to have you join us and to bring you the very best of Australian Magic. For Ray Walkinshaw, I'm Riley Knight. Of course, at the end of the day, we're all winners for having taken part. Thanks so much for joining us here in Melbourne for the GP, and congratulations to our champion, Sung-Wook Nam, here at GP Melbourne. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.